I always do what EJ tells me, and that is to bring in the one and only Elliotte Friedman. World E-Free, as I like to call him. An homage to the legendary NBA star. We're talking about Johnny Boychuk and the impact, obviously, emotionally on him, but then the business side of hockey. How about what EJ was talking about? Elliotte, what does this mean for the Isles?
Well, it means they're going to have some freedom. And the key thing is he's not retiring. He's, as the media release said, it's the end of his career, which means that he will spend the next 2 seasons on long-term injury, which will clear some ability for the Islanders to go over the cap. It's harder to work the salary cap. There are challenges that come with that. You have a little less flexibility, but you are able to go over the cap to sign players and acquire players with that ability. And so that's going to give them some room. I don't think Matthew Barzal is going to be able to sign a long-term deal unless there's something else coming that we're not currently aware of. I think at this point in time, when you look at those figures there, unless maybe Andrew Ladd is agreeing to go on long-term IR too, which we don't know at this point in time, I still think it's more likely than not a bridge deal from Barzal when you do the math. You know, I will say this, when the Islanders sent out the tweet today announcing that Boychuk was not going to play, there were some texts from other teams with the kind of, you know, Lou does it again reaction, creates the room like Lou Lamoriello does. But I think a lot of people watched those clips today you showed with Johnny Boychuk, and they saw how emotional it was. And those were tough clips to watch. You know, you guys talked about it. Boychuk, to keep him, you have to drag that guy off the ice with a team of Clydesdales. And I think people saw how emotional it was today with Boychuk and realized that this is probably something bigger than we recognized even a couple months ago.
Elliotte, you talked about a short-term deal for Barzal. We end up with a short-term deal for Sergachev. He gets a 3-year deal. Give me your thoughts about that deal and how it affects the future now for the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have a couple of other players they have to try to get signed as well.
Well, first of all, EJ, I wasn't surprised it was a short-term deal for Sergachev, simply because I don't think there was enough money to do a long-term deal. This buys up no UFA years, so the Lightning don't really have the cap room. And secondly, you know, the most certain predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And if you look at the Lightning, they do bridge deals. They did one for Kucherov before he got the big deal. They did one for Vasilevsky before he got the big deal. And they just did one for Braden Point before he got the big deal. Even Stamkos' last deal was 5 years before this current 8 years. So that's what Tampa kind of does. That's their history. The other thing about Sergachev I think that's very interesting is the more we learn about this contract, the more we learn, Tony and EJ, that this deal was basically done almost after they won the Stanley Cup. This is I don't know if sitting in the drawer is the right term, but I think they knew it was going to be a 3-year deal, and they kind of knew the money, because if you look at the comparables, guys like McAvoy and Zach Werenski, they're in that area. So I think the Lightning have kind of known what Sergachev's deal is going to be for some time. So why did they decide to pull the trigger on it now? Well, I can only think of 2 reasons. Number one, because we're getting close to actually having to make some decisions here. And number 2, maybe they know what else they're going to have to do to create cap room. So I have a feeling, you know, we all know the Lightning have to do things. I wonder if this means they're getting closer.
When you say we're getting close, do you mean to playing hockey? Please expound.
Well, Tony, I believe this. I've believed this before, and I believe this now. We're going to play this year. I refuse to believe we are going now. This is a old school reference. The kids will not get this reference, but remember the movie War Games with mutually assured destruction? We are not. I refuse to believe we are going there. I simply refuse to believe that this league will do that. And, you know, and even the players as part of it, I just don't believe we're going to do that. Now, do I believe that everybody here is a little annoyed at each other? Yes, I do. Do I believe we've gone into a brief Cold War where the league and the players are not talking to each other? Yes, I do. Do I think their feelings are very raw right now? Yes, I do. I think the players are upset that they're being asked to change the deal. And I think there are some owners who are, you know, upset at some of the things players said last week. I know I heard from a couple owners who were very upset with a quote that was in my column, or a reference that was in my column about, or my blog, about it's never been cheaper to borrow money. They thought that was over the line and offside. So I think feelings are raw right now. I think people are upset. I think the owners feel the players don't understand the losses they're facing. I think the players feel the owners wouldn't go back on a deal that was signed 4 months ago, so why should they? But I think cooler heads are going to prevail, and maybe it's not going to be as soon as everybody likes, but I do eventually think they're going to figure this out.
Even when you don't shave both sides of your upper lip, you're still an amazing insider. Elliotte Friedman, you're amazing at your job. We appreciate you.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great night.